Hello fellas. So today in this video you're going to learn how to solder and desolder electronic components from a PCB. So before we proceed any further, I would like that you please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so that you can receive the notifications of the latest emails. Let's move forward. So guys, what you see here is the helping hand. These are crocodile clips that are normally used to hold the stuff which sometimes can get heated up. So the idea is that it helps you to solder and your hand or fingers don't get heated or burned. So this is, by the way, a transistor that I'm going to stick into a PCB. So this is off-the-shelf PCB that has copper lines in the horizontal or vertical, whatever you want to call it, horizontal and vertical directions. So I push the legs of the transistor in to a certain level, and sometimes the transistor is kept a little up above the surface because you might want to attach a heat sink on the back side. So you do it like this, hold it in your helping hand thingy, and you have to heat up your soldering gun to 350 to 370 and see first if the tip of the thing is clean. It seems pretty clean and nice and tinned. So get your solder wire. So it's important that you heat up the tip first, the leg of the component first. And so guys, this is really important that you need to apply only a little bit of the solder. The more you apply, the worse it gets. So with practice you will find out that there is just the optimum amount of the solder that you want to get on the wire. So I'll first get this one done. So you heat up the leg, second leg. So I would rank this one better than this one because I just put the very limited amount. Clean your soldering tip often so that you get good soldering. Heat up the leg for a while. Bring in your solder wire from the other side. It's wet, keep it there. Voila, it's done. I'm sorry, I would put a little more. Now it's done. So these are good examples of solder. This is okay, this is really good, and this is also good. Okay, so this was an example of soldering the electronic component. We won't stop there because often you have to fit in your electronic component inside a box. So what you would do is that these extra pins, they won't let you fit inside the box, the PCB. So what I'm going to use is a small plier, cut off all the extra legs. this, this, and like this. So guys, you're done. So with this, I don't want to stop here. I want to give you also an example of a bad solder component attached. So I'll just take this thing, or maybe a resistor. Hold on. Okay, just to give you an example of a bad soldering applied to the component, let's hold this thing again, and let's say I want to attach a resistor. Here, okay, you twist the leg so that it remains in its place like this, and look at the other side. So you want to make the solder here and here. Let me focus. Okay, so a bad example would be that you first heat up your the tip doesn't look that nicely tinned. So guys, look at my other video where I showed how to tin and clean the tip of the solder iron. So now it looks better. Okay, so a bad example, look at a bad example would be that you first apply your solder wire to this thing. So what happens is that you drained out all the flux that was inside. So now if I try to attach, it won't attach as nicely. I mean, it would, but look at this. It seems like it's doing more wetting to the leg of the resistor rather than the PCB itself. So basically it's not a good way of soldering electronic components. And this, of course, also with if your electronic component will be inside a moving part, several jerks to the electronic component or your electronic circuit could possibly break this away as well. So here again, I will give you another example of how you should, how is it different from the one we just did, and also comparing it to the previous nicely done electronic component. So the tip is tinned nicely. I heat up this thing first, keep it on the leg till it heats up, then apply the solder from the other end like this. Just a minute. Okay, give it a couple seconds. Okay, there you go. You see how nicely it is wetting the surface, and now you could start to apply a little more solder. You need to close that hole thingy. So you see this thing is much better than that one. That forms a big blob, and you can see the difference. And now if I use a plier to cut the wires out, then it may become even more clear what I was talking about. So you will see that this, as a result of this large blob, when I start to cut this out, just a minute, You see, you can also see that it's moving. It would come off quite badly. Okay, so that was your, I don't know, soldering 101, but it hasn't finished yet. Now we have to get off a component from an electronic component, and I will, this was a rough PCB that I had on the shelf. So I was working on a project that I have several components attached onto this board, and I'll try to remove one of them as an example. So guys, on this circuit board there are many components. Let's try to take, for example, this one out. It has two legs, one here and the other one is here. So it's really important that you might have already seen that I have this tweezer right here. It's really important that while trying to remove a component, you must have a tweezer in your hand, because you would, once you heat up the component, the solder point, the component will get pretty hot, and you won't be able to handle that with your hand. So you need a tweezer to hold that. So what you want to do is figure out which legs you want to take out. It's this one and this one. So here's the tricky part. So when you're trying to remove an old component, especially if the PCB is a very old one, if you try to touch, you see, if you try to touch the tip of your solder, the stuck component, you may not be able to take it out that easily. That's because the properties of the old solder have changed. It may have become brittle or something. And so what you want to do is that, here's the tricky part, or here's the tip, I should say. You do the same thing just like soldering. You want to mix the newer one with the older one, like this. Want to mix the newer one with the older one, like I said, a little bit of it. That would help to melt the older one. And now you want to bring in your wick here. You know what wick is? It's this thing. Bring your wick in, and this wick thingy will suck out all the extra. You see that? It sucks out all the extra solder, and that's because this is a nice, if I try to focus it, this is a nice web of copper wire basically. You know that because of the capillary action, it sucks out all the extra, and you see that part is actually left with almost no or very little solder. What I would do next is, the other one I wanted to take out was this one right here. So again, I would attach a little bit of newer wire to the older one, just like this, so that it starts to melt. Guys, this is your soldering 101 course. Enjoy it. This is life, and it's interesting. Try to hold this wick with the tip of the thing and try to rub it just like this. Okay, so if I zoom out, and zoom in a little bit back. So now the next step is that you have to stick the tip of your tweezer on the back side of the component that you want to take out and start pressing a little bit. Okay, so it's going to come out like this, but it won't come out because right now it's stuck here. What you want to do, so you see I'm doing, let me show you the back side of this thing. Zoom out. So this is the component I want to take out, so I'm putting in, hey man, focus, 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 focus. Just a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna put my tweezer on the back side of this and put a little bit of force so that by the time I heat this thing up, because if you're a human, you can, it came out automatically because I had nicely removed the extra solder with the wick. So here is the component, we just took it out, guys. So this was your soldering 101. We learned how to put a simple electronic component on a PCB, and we also learned how to take it out in simple steps. So guys, if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel, hit that bell button so that you can receive latest notifications, and as always, thumbs up like this.